When Caitlin Clark stepped onto the golf course last year, no one expected what came next. One swing, just one, turned a quiet charity event into a viral phenomenon. Within hours, clips of her drive were everywhere. TikTok, ESPN, Twitter, you name it. Headlines exploded. Even people who didn't watch golf suddenly knew about the LPGA Pro-Am. And the reason was simple. Caitlin Clark. The same athlete breaking records in the WNBA was now breaking the internet at a golf tournament. And here's the part that made executives nervous. That single appearance on the fairway drew more attention than most of her games that season. More engagement, more sponsorship buzz, more media coverage. Think about that. A basketball superstar creating more excitement outside her league than within it. That's not just unusual, it's a warning sign. Because behind the cheers, the highlights, and the viral clips, one uncomfortable truth was becoming impossible to ignore. The WNBA might be losing control of its biggest star. The LPGA Pro-Am wasn't supposed to be a headline event, at least not until Caitlin Clark showed up. When she arrived, cameras followed her every move. Crowds that usually stayed quiet for golf were suddenly buzzing like it was Game 7 of the finals. Fans weren't just watching, they were invested. They wanted to see how the basketball phenom would handle herself on the green, and she didn't disappoint. Her swing wasn't just good for a celebrity guest, it was genuinely impressive. Smooth, confident, and backed by a competitiveness that made every drive feel like a statement. But what really made the moment powerful wasn't her performance, it was her authenticity. Clark wasn't there to play celebrity. She grew up around golf. She talked about it like someone who genuinely loved the game, not someone showing up for a PR stunt. That realness connected with fans in a way few athletes ever manage. Suddenly, sports media outlets were rushing to cover what they were calling a cross-sport sensation. Within days, the LPGA's online presence exploded. Engagement numbers spiked across every platform. Sponsors who'd never cared about women's golf were making calls. The league quickly realized they had lightning in a bottle, and unlike the WNBA, they didn't hesitate to amplify it. They built features, interviews, and highlight reels around Clark's appearance. They treated her not as a guest, but as a moment, one capable of pulling millions of new eyes toward their sport. And here's the part that made executives nervous. That single appearance on the fairway drew more attention than most of her games that season. More engagement, more sponsorship buzz, more media coverage. Think about that. A basketball superstar creating more excitement outside her league than within it. That's not just unusual, it's a warning sign. Because behind the cheers, the highlights, and the viral clips, one uncomfortable truth was becoming impossible to ignore. The WNBA might be losing control of its biggest star. While golf fans were celebrating Caitlin Clark's breakout moment, something very different was happening behind the scenes in the WNBA. Instead of capitalizing on her growing global attention, the league seemed to shrink from it. Just weeks earlier, Clark had shattered records across nearly every measurable category: scoring, viewership, attendance, even merchandise sales. She'd done what few athletes in any sport could do: made people who'd never watched women's basketball start tuning in. And yet, when the league had the perfect chance to spotlight her success, her Rookie of the Year ceremony, it felt like a small-town school assembly. A quiet gym, minimal cameras, no major media presence, no red carpet moment for the woman who had just reignited an entire league's visibility. It wasn't just a missed PR opportunity, it was a message. A message that the WNBA either didn't understand or didn't value the power of the cultural wave Clark had created. On social media, fans noticed immediately. Comments poured in, asking how the league could treat its biggest draw with such little fanfare. Analysts questioned whether the WNBA was afraid of Clark's stardom, afraid that her individual spotlight might outshine the league itself. Because while the LPGA rolled out the red carpet and built events around her, the WNBA seemed to treat her rise as something to manage, not celebrate. And that's where the cracks started to show. Instead of amplifying the moment, insiders say league executives were quietly debating how to contain it,
a decision that would come back to haunt them as Clark's influence only continued to grow beyond basketball. Behind closed doors, the conversations inside WNBA headquarters weren't about how to ride the Caitlin Clark wave, they were about how to control it. According to multiple insider accounts, Clark's meteoric rise had sparked unease among league executives, not because of her talent or her impact on viewership, but because of what she represented. A player whose popularity had outgrown the organization meant to define her. In a league built on collective identity, Clark was breaking the mold, and for some decision-makers, that was unsettling. Reports began circulating of emergency meetings focused on managing her visibility. The concern wasn't her performance on the court, it was her ability to create moments that the league hadn't scripted. Viral clips, spontaneous interviews, and off-court collaborations were drawing more attention than official league promotions. To executives used to controlling every narrative, this kind of unsupervised spotlight felt dangerous. The irony is hard to miss. The WNBA has spent years searching for a breakout star who could command mainstream attention. Now they had one, and they were unsure how to handle her. Instead of viewing Clark's momentum as a once-in-a-generation opportunity to elevate the entire sport, insiders suggest the league began seeing her influence as a potential threat to its structure. It wasn't just about Clark either. It was about what she symbolized, a shift in power from league to athlete. A new generation of players who understand branding, storytelling, and media dynamics better than the organizations that employ them. For the WNBA, that shift wasn't part of the plan. But whether they liked it or not, the plan was changing, fast. Because the truth is, you can't control cultural gravity. When a star like Caitlin Clark captures public imagination, the narrative stops belonging to the league. It belongs to the audience. And that's the one force no boardroom can contain.
WNBA hesitated. The LPGA went all in. The moment Caitlin Clark's name hit their roster, they understood what they had. Not just a celebrity guest, but a cultural lightning rod. Instead of trying to control the narrative, they handed her the microphone. They didn't treat her as a novelty, they treated her as a headline. The broadcast schedule was adjusted, promotional materials were redesigned, interviews were lined up before she even touched a club. Every detail of the event, from sponsorship banners to post-round interviews, revolved around maximizing her impact. And it worked. Clark wasn't just featured, she was framed as the story. The LPGA built anticipation by pairing her with world number 1 Nelly Korda, creating a crossover moment that drew in fans from two different sports. For the first time in years, women's golf became appointment viewing. Audiences who'd never watched a full round before were suddenly live streaming entire tournaments just to see Clark play. More importantly, the LPGA understood her value beyond performance. They didn't just show her swinging a club, they showcased her personality, her charisma, and her genuine enthusiasm for the game. They put her on leadership panels. They told her story as a multi-dimensional athlete, not a guest appearance. They gave her room to shine, and in return, she brought an entirely new audience into their world. That's the difference between understanding marketing and fearing it. The LPGA recognized that Clark's influence could lift everyone involved, from fellow players to sponsors to the league itself. They saw her not as a threat to the brand, but as the embodiment of what the brand could become. And as the viewership numbers exploded, it became impossible to ignore a simple truth. While one league was trying to contain its brightest star, another was showing the world exactly how to celebrate her. Then came the twist that no one saw coming. Just as the buzz from Caitlin Clark's LPGA appearance started to fade, reports surfaced that another WNBA star, Sophie Cunningham, might be joining her at the upcoming Annika Pro-Am. For fans, it sounded like a dream pairing, two of the league's most recognizable faces stepping into a different sport side by side. But for the WNBA's front office, it reportedly set off alarm bells. Sophie Cunningham isn't just any player. She's outspoken, charismatic, and one of the few athletes in the league with her own growing media footprint.
Pair her with Clark, the most talked about rookie in years, and suddenly you've got a storyline that transcends basketball entirely. The LPGA saw it instantly. They leaned into the crossover appeal, teasing the potential collaboration without overhyping it. They understood that curiosity drives clicks and speculation fuels engagement. And overnight, that's exactly what they got. Headlines, trending posts, and millions of new eyes on a golf tournament that, just a year ago, few outside the sport even knew existed. Meanwhile, whispers began circulating within WNBA circles. Insiders described tense meetings over how this second crossover could affect the league's image. Was the LPGA starting to outshine them in player visibility? Were their top athletes building more brand value outside the WNBA than within it? Those questions weren't just rhetorical, they were existential. Because if Clark's first appearance was lightning in a bottle, Cunningham's rumored addition looked like proof of a pattern. This wasn't just a one-off moment anymore, it was a movement. Two athletes operating independently, finding more excitement and opportunity beyond the court than their league could manufacture inside it. And if that trend continued, it wouldn't just challenge the WNBA's marketing strategy, it could redefine what it means to be a modern professional athlete. The LPGA wasn't stealing stars, it was offering something the WNBA had overlooked: freedom, visibility, and respect. And as Clark and Cunningham prepared to tee off together, one thing was becoming crystal clear. This wasn't just a golf event, it was a statement. What's unfolding between Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and the leagues they represent isn't just a sports story, it's a power shift. For decades, professional leagues have operated on a simple model. They build the platform, they control the image, and the athletes follow the playbook. But that formula doesn't work anymore. Not when stars like Clark and Cunningham understand that their platforms, their voices, their audiences, their influence are bigger than the logos on their jerseys. Caitlin Clark's success at the LPGA Pro-Am proved something the WNBA had never fully grasped. Attention no longer flows from league to player, it flows from player to league. The moment fans tune in because of who is playing, not what league they're in, the balance of power shifts. And Caitlin Clark has already crossed that line. She doesn't need permission to create cultural moments. She is the moment. Sophie Cunningham, in her own bold and unapologetic way, is following that same path. Rumors of the two collaborating beyond the Pro-Am have only added to the intrigue. Unconfirmed reports hint at potential brand partnerships, co-hosted events, and even long-term collaborations that would extend far beyond basketball or golf. If any of that becomes a reality, it would mark something unprecedented. Female athletes strategically building multi-sport, multi-platform brands outside traditional league structures.
The part that terrifies executives. Because once players realize they can drive their own exposure, sponsorships, and fan bases without relying entirely on league machinery, the old system starts to crumble. The gatekeepers lose their leverage. And in the era of viral content and direct fan connection, influence isn't something leagues can grant or revoke. It's something athletes create for themselves. Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham aren't just redefining crossover appeal, they're rewriting the rules of athlete independence. The question now isn't whether leagues can control their stars, it's whether they can evolve fast enough to keep up with them. What's happening with Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham is sending shockwaves far beyond basketball and golf. Across every corner of women's sports, athletes are watching and taking notes. For years, female players have been told that exposure comes from loyalty to the league, from sticking to the script, from waiting their turn. But now they're seeing something different. Two stars breaking that mold, building momentum, attention, and brand power outside the system, and doing it on their own terms. Younger players are paying attention. College athletes who grew up idolizing Clark's confidence and Cunningham's energy are starting to realize they don't have to wait for the spotlight to find them. They can build it themselves. NIL deals, personal content channels, crossover appearances,
All of it is proof that visibility no longer depends on the league's marketing team. It depends on authenticity, story, and timing. And that's a formula athletes can control completely. This shift isn't just cultural, it's financial. Sponsors are rethinking where to invest their money. Instead of pouring funds into league-wide campaigns, brands are partnering directly with individual athletes who already have massive organic followings. The Caitlin Clarks of the world bring measurable engagement, millions of eyes, clicks, and conversations, and that's exactly what advertisers crave. For players, that means a new kind of independence. They can build empires without waiting for the league to catch up. Meanwhile, leagues that embrace this evolution, like the LPGA, are reaping the rewards. Their collaboration-first mentality is drawing new fans, expanding their reach, and redefining how female athletes are marketed. But for leagues that resist change, the risk is obvious: irrelevance. Because in today's digital landscape, it's not about who owns the spotlight, it's about who can create it. The ripple effect is already underway. Women's soccer players, tennis stars, even Olympic athletes are watching Clark and Cunningham prove that their value doesn't stop at the boundaries of their sport. It extends to every arena where talent, personality, and authenticity meet. And as that realization spreads, the entire structure of women's sports, from contracts to media coverage, is on the brink of transformation. This isn't just about one golf event anymore. It's about a new era where athletes aren't just part of the story, they are the story. Meanwhile, the WNBA's reaction has been almost deafening in its absence. While fans, media, and even other leagues are buzzing about Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham, official acknowledgement from the league has been minimal at best. No press releases celebrating Clark's achievements, no strategic moves highlighting her crossover appeal, no statements embracing the momentum she's creating. Just quiet, punctuated by the occasional vague corporate message about brand management or player development. Fans have noticed. Social media threads are filled with pointed questions. Why isn't the league celebrating their brightest stars? Why does it feel like Clark and Cunningham are bigger than the WNBA itself? Comment sections are flooded with frustration and speculation, and every unanswered question seems to highlight the same truth. The league is out of step with the modern landscape of athlete empowerment. The contrast with the LPGA couldn't be starker. Where one league leans in and amplifies its stars, the other hesitates, worried more about controlling narratives than capitalizing on opportunities. This silence isn't neutral, it's a statement. It signals caution, fear, and a lack of vision at a time when decisiveness could have transformed the WNBA's cultural impact. And the longer the league waits, the louder the message becomes. Athletes are realizing that they no longer need league approval to create attention, build influence, or connect with fans. Clark and Cunningham are proof that visibility, engagement, and even cultural relevance can be forged independently. For the WNBA, this isn't just a missed opportunity, it's a warning. The future of women's sports is moving fast, and leagues that cling to outdated control structures risk being left behind. All eyes are now on November's Anaka Pro-Am, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham aren't just participating in another golf tournament, they're testing the boundaries of what athletes can achieve outside their primary leagues. Every drive, every media appearance, every fan interaction is another signal of a shifting landscape. The question on everyone's mind: will the WNBA adapt, or will it continue to cling to control in an era where control no longer guarantees influence?
Doubles down on restrictions and internal gatekeeping, it risks alienating its brightest stars and the fans who follow them. But if it chooses to embrace crossover opportunities and amplify their players' platforms, it could redefine women's basketball for an entirely new generation. The potential rewards are massive. Expanded audiences, increased sponsorships, and a cultural relevance that extends far beyond the court. Meanwhile, Clark and Cunningham are quietly shaping the future of athlete empowerment. They've proven that attention and influence can be earned independently.
that strategic collaboration across sports can create cultural moments, and that modern athletes are no longer just participants in a league, they are drivers of the story itself. November's Pro-Am isn't just a date on the calendar, it's a live experiment in sports marketing, cultural influence, and league strategy. What unfolds there could serve as a blueprint for the next generation of professional athletes, a roadmap showing how to build a brand, command attention, and leverage opportunity without waiting for permission. In short, the next chapter is more than a tournament. It's a test of whether leagues can evolve fast enough to remain relevant in a world where talent writes its own rules. The story of Clark and Sophie Cunningham is far from over, and the ripple effects are only just beginning. The LPGA is celebrating their influence, fans are following every move, and the WNBA is being forced to confront a reality it can't ignore. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Do you think leagues should embrace their stars' crossover appeal, or is maintaining control more important? How should the WNBA respond, evolve with the moment, or risk being left behind? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and join the conversation. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications because we'll be tracking every swing, every reaction, and every strategic move as this story continues to unfold. The November Pro-Am isn't just a tournament, it's a case study in athlete empowerment, modern sports marketing, and the shifting balance of power in professional women's sports. Don't miss a single moment. Your perspective matters, and the next chapter of this evolving story is going to be unforgettable.